I have now been in your century for some months. I have survived the horseless carriages. I have survived the rectangle that everyone stares at. I have survived a thing called a drive-through, where you order food through a wall and a stranger hands it to you through a window without making eye contact. I have adapted. I have grown. I am, by most reasonable measures, a man of the modern world. And then someone told me about Las Vegas. Let me explain how this came about. A young man sat down across from me one morning and said, and I am quoting directly, "Cedric, you need to go to Vegas." I asked what Vegas was. He thought about this for a moment. Then he said, "It's a city, in the desert, where everyone goes to gamble and drink and get married to strangers and eat unlimited shrimp." I looked at him for a long time. I said, "All of those things, simultaneously, in a desert?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "And people go there, on purpose?" He said, "People save up for it." I needed a moment. I should tell you that in my time, deserts were not destinations. Deserts were the places you did not go. Deserts were where expeditions went and did not return from. The desert was not somewhere you went to have a good time. You have built a city there, with hotels so tall they scrape the inside of the sky, with lights so bright they are visible from space. Your civilization has produced lights that can be seen from space, and you aimed them at a desert, so that gamblers can find their way home. Not a cathedral, not a university, a casino. I had questions. I went. You approach Las Vegas from the highway. For a long time there is nothing. Sand, rock, the occasional desperate-looking shrub, the kind of landscape that says, clearly, no one should be here. And then it appears, on the horizon, a glittering, impossible, completely deranged skyline rising out of nothing, like someone lost a bet with God and had to build a city as punishment. I pressed my face against the window. Someone looked at a barren, hostile, waterless wasteland and thought, yes, this is where we will put the Eiffel Tower. A replica of the Eiffel Tower, in the desert, next to a replica of the Egyptian pyramids, next to a giant lion, next to a volcano that erupts on a schedule, next to a pirate ship. I am not making any of this up. The pirate ship was doing a show. The hotel had a casino inside it. The casino had no windows. The casino had no clocks. The casino had approximately 9,000 slot machines, each making a different noise, all simultaneously, at full volume, at all hours. I walked in and immediately felt my sense of time dissolve. I looked for a window. There was no window. I looked for a clock. There was no clock. There were only the machines, flashing, beeping, occasionally erupting in celebration when someone won a small amount of the money they had already lost. I turned to the young man. I said, "There are no windows." He said, "Yeah, they do that on purpose." I said, "They have engineered a space where the human brain cannot track the passage of hours in order to keep people gambling for longer." He said, "Do you want to try the slots?" I tried the slots. I lost $14 in 4 minutes. The machine played a cheerful song while taking my money. I found this deeply insulting and also somehow kept going. Then I found the buffet. In my time, a feast required planning, a coronation, a wedding, a military victory. You did not simply walk into a room and eat unlimited quantities of everything ever cooked. Here you pay a flat fee, you take a plate, and then you eat everything, as much as you want, forever. I saw a man eating crab legs, pizza, sushi, and a taco simultaneously, on one plate. He appeared to be in complete peace. The look of a man who had found exactly what he was looking for in this world. I respect him enormously. I had 4 plates. What happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. Then came the shows. The first was a magician. He made a horse disappear, a full-sized horse, on a stage, in front of 2,000 people. I do not know where the horse went. I am still thinking about the horse. The second show was women in very large feathered hats doing a coordinated dance. I did not understand the narrative. There did not appear to be one. There were simply the hats. And, honestly, it was magnificent. I applauded for a very long time. The third show I will not describe in detail. It was not appropriate for a man of my station. I watched the entire thing. We move on. Then I discovered the weddings. In Las Vegas, you can get married at any time, in 20 minutes, by a stranger dressed as Elvis Presley. In my time, a wedding required banns read in church for 3 consecutive Sundays, written consent from both families, and an understanding that this was a permanent and serious arrangement. Here, you can get married at 2 in the morning while still holding your drink by a man in a white sequin jumpsuit who is legally authorized to do this by the state of Nevada. I watched one through a window. It lasted 11 minutes. The Elvis was very professional. He had clearly done this many times today. Who am I to argue with 11 minutes and an Elvis? Then there was the drinking. The drinks are free while you gamble. A woman comes to you with a tray, regularly, for free, while you lose money. I asked, why? He said, because drunk people gamble more. I said, they have calculated that the cost of the free alcohol is less than the additional gambling losses it produces. He said, do you want another one? I said yes. I am not proud of what followed. What I will tell you is that I woke up the next morning with no memory of the last 4 hours, a small plastic trophy that said, winner, despite having lost $60, and a very strong opinion about a craps table I could not fully articulate. The young man said, I had a great time. I will take his word for it. I spent 3 days in Las Vegas. By the end, I had lost money at 7 different games, eaten at the buffet 4 more times, seen 2 more shows, one involving motorcycles inside a metal sphere, attended a pool party that began at 11 in the morning and ended at 11 at night, and watched the volcano erupt. Twice. On schedule. On my last night, I sat outside on a bench on the strip and watched all of it. Every hotel, every sign, every screen, every exploding volcano and replica pyramid and scheduled pirate battle. All of it blazing against the absolute darkness of the desert. And I thought, what a completely absurd thing you have built. You looked at nothing, at emptiness, at sand and heat and inhospitable wilderness, and you said, no, we will put lights here. We will put excess here. We will put joy here in its most ridiculous possible form. So bright, it can be seen from space, and people will save up to come and lose their money and eat too much shrimp and marry a stranger, and they will talk about it for the rest of their lives. In my time, we built cathedrals to say, look how much we believe. You built Las Vegas to say, look how much we want to live. Different ambitions. Honestly, not sure which one I respect more. The volcano went off again, right on schedule. Then I went back inside. I had $14 left. I put it all on red. I lost. The machine played a cheerful song. Good evening.